let us look at what is a radio. We have been talking about radio frequencies. Let us look what is a radio. So radio, it's a commonly used term for a system which transmits and or receives radio or microwaves. Okay, look at this picture. So you can see there's a high level block diagram. You have some blocks here, baseband, I call it as baseband. Then there is an up conversion, down conversion block. So whatever you see on the yellow color, this is the transmit path. Okay, whatever you see in the other, slight orange or whatever color, so that is the receive path. So on the transmit, if you look at it, we have a baseband block, we have up conversion, and we have RF processing. So whatever you see here on the transmit RF processing, on transmit and receive, we can call this as the radio frequency system or a radio. Okay, so since it operates at radio frequencies, you can also call it as a radio frequency system or an RF system or a microwave system. So any terminology is okay. Now, in case of transmission only, so I told you it's a system which transmits and or receives. So there could be some systems which only transmit, like in case of a TV or an FM radio, right? Your device at home, like a TV or a radio, it's only a receiver. So you don't transmit anything from your TV. So you can call it as a simplex or a broadcast system. That means the TV tower or the FM tower, it only transmits and you only receive. Now, if you look at two-way communication system, for example, mobile phones, could be some radars also, right? So these are all duplex systems. That means it's a two-way communication. You can also transmit and you can also receive. Now, when we talk about, when we look at this particular block, up conversion or down conversion, this is also considered as part of the radio many times, mainly because whatever we talk about baseband, those are those low frequencies, right? In the spectrum that if you're talking about voice, you and I, when we talk, or the music that we hear, those frequencies are less than 20 kilohertz. So those are low frequencies. Obviously, we cannot transmit those frequencies over long distances. And I also told you there are government regulations, right? That you cannot transmit really at low frequencies at high power. So there is always a restriction. So when you have that is the case, you have to up convert it in the transmit. You have a low frequency, let's say it is your voice or the music, you have to up convert it to a suitable frequency so that you can transmit. And what is the suitable frequency? You saw in the previous slides, I showed you about 4G and 5G bands. So you have to transmit in those bands. So that's why we up convert. We take the low frequency and up convert it into higher frequencies. And on the receive, we down convert or down conversion to the actual lower frequencies. Okay. So what is a radio in 4G and 5G? Okay, the concept is very similar, whether it's 4G or 5G or radar. The concept looks very, very similar to this. Okay, so you have a baseband, you have up conversion, RF processing, and then you have an antenna which will take the electrical signals from here and it will direct it as an EM wave over the air. Okay, it's all the same. On the receive, from the air you receive the EM waves, your antenna receives the EM waves, and it directs it to the RF processing block and down conversion. So the process remains the same. So, but in 4G and 5G, you can think of, since we are focusing on 4G and 5G, right? So you can think of it as a hardware that is designed specific to band or bands. For example, if you're thinking of RF processing here, we are talking about, let's say, if I'm designing a phone for India or for US, I'm focusing on only those bands. So in the previous slide, I showed you that 4G and 5G has some 40 plus bands or 50 plus bands. So you don't have to design with all those bands. It becomes your phone will not look like a phone if you design with all the bands. It will look like a laptop. It will look very big, okay, because it's all hardware. So you want to design it very specific to a region. That way, it will be the phone will look like a phone, okay, like a small size phone. So, and then there is other way also. So the hardware functionality Some of the hardware functionality, I should mention that some of the hardware functionality, not all, can be also implemented in software. So you might have heard of software defined radios. So those are still radios, but it takes up some of the hardware functionality and implements in software. So what is the advantage of implementing in software? You can do these functions in a DSP, in a computer. Okay. So in 5G, what is it called? So 5G, it is defined as 5G NR, new radio. It is new because a lot of things from the radio perspective, it has changed compared to 4G. So since it has changed, a lot of new things have come in 5G. It is called as a new radio. Please click on like and subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon for regular